Hello and welcome to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. My name is Mehmet. I share daily insights about the latest news and trends in technology while exploring their problem solving abilities. I also talk about startups and the entrepreneurs behind their innovative products and services. Today, in this episode, I'm very glad to be with Joe Rockey, who's joining me from the United States, from Philadelphia. And just I will leave it to Joe to introduce himself, what he does, and then I will start, the show properly.
Yeah, so thank you for having me on. First off, I'm with elitebusinessconversations.com. It's one of my newest business ventures that I have. What we do is we give obviously keynote addresses to all types of various arrays of areas, primarily for sales victory conferences and making yourself a better workflow environment. Ultimately, our business does business coaching consulting to help businesses overcome their hurdles where they have plateaued or stalled out at a place they didn't want. And typically, those areas come to be that the business is no longer giving the owner what they want, whether that be the goal of having more time, the goal of having more sales, or the goal of pushing a personal agenda or issue. We help businesses achieve all of those ends and to make it to how that the owner and management staff wants it. Before that, in another lifetime, I've created 15 different entities, including 2 different podcasts and a lot of other stuff. So um, the industry list that I've been on is massive and long, but nonetheless, not to give you a 20-minute introduction and waste the whole show here, to dive into the importance of sales and in startups. That's key, man. Yeah, that's absolutely key.
That's fantastic, Joe. Like, actually, this is exactly my first question to you. Now,
Mhm.
we are seeing this little bit kind of a hype where um, young entrepreneurs, they want to be solopreneurs, right? And they want to start by themselves. They have the technical know-how, but they say, hold on one second, like, hold on. I need to do sales. I need to do marketing. So
Mhm.
like here I think where having the knowledge about sales come into the picture, right?
Yeah, yeah. So let's start with the fundamental fact: the bakery that lasts the longest is not the one with the best bread; it's the one that sells the most bread. That's a fact of life. So for so many people who are solo entrepreneurs, which I was one of you, still am, I guess, technically one of you. Um, the issue that most people have is they focus primarily upon their product. What am I good at? What's going to be amazing? What makes me stand out? All that's important. You certainly need it. I am not discounting it. But that is only a third of the sales journey. It's the final third. The first third is what's commonly known as marketing. People need to know who you are and have a desire to come check you out. Number two, when they are with you, you have to have the ability to transfer a conversation into exchange of resources. For most people, that's give me money, I give you something back. And the third side is that product is ultimately awesome and delivers on what you said it was going to deliver. So, where most solo entrepreneurs come into play is they have the product. It's awesome. It does all of this cool stuff that no one else can do because I thought of it. It is better, period. End discussion. I got you guys. I'm that guy. So, that being said, though, that's a really good way to burn yourself out. Really get upset at yourself that the business doesn't work because no one's buying it. And a simple fact of the sales world is rejection is common. And if you make your business and your baby solely around the product and you don't invest your time and energy in learning how to do the first 2 components, you will really, really hinder yourself in terms of your emotional happiness as people are essentially not buying your product. And eventually that becomes an internal form of rejection, which probably isn't a rejection on the product itself. It's rejection on your sales process, which is what you need most of all to succeed.
So talking about process here, like
Mhm.
for someone who's just starting, as I said, like where they can start to get this information, like, okay, I have this good idea, I have this good product, I know that it solves a fundamental problem probably for a large set of people. So where do you think they can start? What is the number one thing that they have to look in before going in front of the customer?
So first, you need to figure out how to get customers to find you, right? So what I would recommend is for whatever space your product is in, is search how similar products are being purchased and discovered. So say you're selling something as simple as rock salt to de-ice the roads for all of our northern countries out there. And you've come up with this new formula. Chemically, it's going to be better for the road, better for the environment, all this great stuff. And it also works at lower temperature. So it's the best of the best in terms of de-icing. Well, how do end clients end up getting that? How are those purchases, how are those companies even discovered? That's really your starting point. How do I get discovered? Step one of the funnel. People need to know who I am. How can that be done? Are people searching on Google? Are they going through trade platforms? If so, what are the trade platforms? And you just need to know that because you have to be able to be found. And then you finally get the client in front of you. You need to know essentially what is the competition I'm fighting with in terms of pricing. So, what I recommend to everyone, and this tends to be natural for people who are creating their own entrepreneurs from the product standpoint, is make the best product, period. Especially early on with your developmental side, you're not going to be able to win a quantity battle. You'll be able to win a quality battle. So have the highest quality thing you possibly can. And it really helps you in the middle phase of the sales process. You walk into someone, you have the best quality product, as long as it's reasonably priced correctly, you don't need to be good at sales. You can still have the highest price, but if the quality is so far out of the roof, you don't need to have this. I know how to relate to you. I know how to draw the emotions of you. I know how to turn this dry chemical into an emotion. I need to have this. You don't need to have those skills yet. I have the best thing in the world. I don't really know how to describe it, but it's here and it's awesome and you need it. A 3-year-old can make that sale. Like that's for those people who don't know how to sell, make your quality the greatest thing on the planet, and then we'll teach you how to make it better so that not only are you selling it at the highest price in your industry, you then eventually start moving the most of it. So that's how I would teach someone who's in a very raw startup point, never done sales before. Start with your bread and butter, make an awesome product, and make it the absolute best of the best.
That's very informative. Now, here's the other thing. So starting, something is one area and then scaling this is another one. So how do you think, they could do some kind of prioritization for scaling the business? What comes number one? What should be number two? What should be number three from your experience while
The
scaling
sales
business?
the sales need to be number one because if you don't have sales, you can't hire more people. At the end of the day, most people don't like that answer because normally, as I was going through the 3 funnels of sales, people need to find you. You need to be able to exchange resources and the product. Those are the only real things that make you revenue. Every other part of your business is a drain on revenue without creating more. So that becomes in accounting world blank overhead expenses, sunk costs. So while computer systems are great, if they're not used to create and find more revenue, find more customers, they're just an expense. If you have a security guard who's in your building and he's not helping you get more sales, he's just an expense. Again, I'm not saying these expenses are meaningless or useless. I'm saying that those aren't what you focus upon when you're scaling. When you're scaling, everything needs to be in one of those 3 realms. Having people find me and want to be with me, creating more relationships where we're exchanging revenue for resources, and then making the awesome product. If it's not in one of those 3 things, you shouldn't focus upon it for scaling. So I first didn't answer your question because I told you what not to do. So stay within the side of revenue. That's the answer. Now to scale it, we got to realize where is our weak point. And this is going to be different based on every company upon their journey. When we look at our sales process, where is the largest snag right now? Is it we're not having enough people come in the door? Is it we're having so many people come in the door, we're not able to meet with all of the clients or potential clients right away? Or is it we're making the sales, but the back end product isn't getting there in time? So we need to look at which one of those snags is happening and we need to correct it. So for each company that's going to be different, it's going to depend upon, like I said, your current status, but that's the process and exercise you want to go through. Where are we weak at, and what do we need to make more? And then you ramp everything up in accordance to that.
That's very insightful again. And, for me also, I have experience in sales as well. So you need to look exactly the way you describe it. So you are like a doctor, right? So you need to see where the
Mhm.
problem is. You need to say, okay, the problem is in the funnel. So let's fix the funnel. The problem is in the process. Let's fix the process. So very insightful, I would say. Now, here's the thing. And because I'm focusing on startups, like new businesses and this, um,
Mhm.
so um, some people, they think, oh, you know what, like, yeah, I have this good product, but I don't think I'm a good business owner.
Mhm.
Honestly, me, I don't believe in that, because everyone can actually sell. Like, everyone sells, right? So
Mhm.
when you go recommend a movie to your friend, actually you're selling him something. So from your experience, and because I know from the profile that you have, that you work with a lot of people from different backgrounds. So what do you tell these people who have the doubt, okay, would I be like a successful business owner? Would you tell them?
So for those people who have the doubt about, will this be a good fit for me? The long story short is your doubt is justified, because just looking at that sales process we did, having people find you, convert opportunities, and then commending a back end product. There is no personality type that is amazing at all three of those things. It just doesn't exist. So, what I recommend to everyone, and this is where it becomes challenging for the true individual starting up his own entity, is that there are elements that are essential to every business that your personality will naturally want to gravitate towards and be a part of. And then there's going to be elements that you don't want to do. That's normal. That's the way the human brain works. That doesn't matter where on this planet you are, or quite frankly, what time in the world you are. That's a fact of life. So, what you need to do really is recognize truly, what don't I like doing? And then ask the follow up question, what happens if my business doesn't do that? And that's really going back to that beginning part of the equation of, is this a revenue activity or not? It really, that's another way of getting to the answer. Because if you say, I really don't like prospecting, I really just hate that process, but I really like making the back end product. Well, that's great. You're going to have a warehouse full of your product and absolutely no one to give it to. So that's not good. You need to find someone who's good at that. Now, there's multiple ways you can do this. You can either force yourself to do it. I don't recommend that route, because you're not good at it. You don't like doing it. You're going to end up hurting your own personal morale and your ultimate image as a result of your morale being crushed. I recommend finding someone who can. For the true startups, this normally means outside help, whether it be hiring a firm or bringing on a temporary consultant type situation. And the reason for that is that you need it done and you don't know how to do it yet. You don't know how to do it because you don't want to do it, which also means you're not good at it. So when we look at the reality of it is we need to address the fear and say, that's good that I have this fear. It means I'm being honest with myself and that there's things I don't like and there's things I don't want to do. Yes, the entire entity is mine and I'm in charge for the direction of it, but that doesn't mean I need to be the best at every single component. And in fact, if you enter with the mindset that I have to be the best at every single component, you have killed the growth of your business, because there are things you are not better than other people at. And by you having this arrogant mindset saying, I have to be the best at it, you will hold yourself back. You are much better figuring out what your strengths are, playing into them, diving all in, and then finding people whose strengths mirror your weaknesses and bringing them onto your team.
Fantastic. Now, Joe, something that came to my mind now, like you yourself, like you started it, I think, like long time back, multiple entities.
Mhm.
What was the thing that every time, I'm sure there was a first time that you faced a challenge, but I believe that with time you started to see a pattern. So what is the pattern, or what are the things that are common from your experience that, and let's share this with fellow entrepreneurs, that for sure 99% of the time they will face. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, it comes down to expectations at the end of the day. Most entrepreneurs, most people in general, and I apologize if this is an American centric take because all of my clients except for four are American.
That's fine.
Um, so the 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 expectation that things have to work immediately now because I'm the one doing them. And I'm the best person ever, so therefore whatever I touch will be the greatest thing ever, and it's going to happen right now. That's not really how the world works. And it doesn't matter how great your product is, how revolutionary, how far ahead of everyone else is, it takes time and it takes energy. And unfortunately, it's not like if you were building a house from scratch where you can say, I got to do this amount of tasks. Because of that, once these tasks are done, the house is done and complete. Because you're in competition, it's like building a house on a treadmill. So if you don't get it done fast enough, parts of it go away. So you need to not only get your house built, you need to then get it progressing faster than everyone else around you. And it is a truly challenging task to do that when it's all said and done. But for those that achieve it, it is well worth it. So the answer is you need to have expectations that are realistic, and you need to map out the entire sales process as well as your entire operations process. I've been kind of glossing over the fact that you have an amazing product because this audience is an audience of self entrepreneurs and they are going to be already having their product idea. You need to have that fully mapped out of how that looks like from you creating it to the actual moment it ends up in your client's hands, whether it be a product or a service. So you need to have that fully mapped out as well as the entire sales process. And there needs to be some flexibility in that because no business is exactly the same way 3 years down the road as it is in the original thought process. But you need to have a general idea and a fairly specific idea. You don't need to have it down to this is the color of the wires or anything like that, but you need to have the gist of it. Like we're going to be making this, and this is how it's going to be. Um, that's I guess the ultimate answer is lining up the expectations, truly doing your thoughts through it of this is what it's going to take, and being ready to implement it and not hold yourself back.
I like the analogy about building house on the treadmill. This is, and by the way, it's not American. I think it's something common everywhere. Wherever someone is listening or watching us will understand it. Um, can you tell me a little bit before we wrap up, Joe? Like more about. I think you have a podcast yourself as well. Like what is it about? Because I'm gonna share also the link for that for my listeners and viewers.
Yeah. So of the two podcasts, Local Football Flavor is an NFL show where we combine fans of the NFL around the world together to come talk about football. That's kind of specific. That's American football. That's not soccer for the
Yeah.
majority of the world audience out there. And then the second show is more common to every single individual on this planet, and that's called Father and Joe. What we do at Father and Joe is we have conversations about the relationship that you have with yourself, the relationship that you have with others, and all of that underneath the umbrella of the relationship that you have with God. And in that being said, that's how we truly believe that we will make the world a better place, is realizing that it all starts with the relationship with ourselves and the relationships with others. And whether we like it or not, that's all underneath an umbrella of God. So that's the podcast. You can find it anywhere there's an audio based podcast. It's called Father and Joe, 3 words, Father and Joe. And then for those that want to reach out to me on a professional basis, the website is called elitebusinessconversations.com, and we can be found. We'll have a little 10-minute chat. We'll go from there.
Great. Actually, this was the last thing I wanted to ask you where people can find you and what the service that you offer, but you just said it, Joe. Anything else like you want to share before we close today?
None of this is easy. By its nature, you're going to be living on a commission based lifestyle. And that means there's going to be times where you have no idea when the next dollars and cents come in. And there's potentially times that you're going to have more money raining down that you know what to do with. You need to be in a situation in your life where you can handle that roller coaster. It is a very, very emotional roller coaster once you get upon it, especially in the beginning when you don't know how to do your sales process. So, from an individual to individual level, try to figure that out and honestly look at your situation, those that you are responsible for right now in your life. If I'm going 6 months without a paycheck coming in, is this going to work or is the rest of my life going to implode? Because what so many business owners fail at is they don't look at the rest of their life. And ultimately, you're doing it for that reason. Sure, your product is going to be awesome and it's going to make a difference. But if the people around you get off the bus of your life, the entire thing will fail. It's just a matter of time. So make sure that you have that in line before you start.
That's an awesome, I would say, recommendation from you. Thank you very much, Joe. I really enjoyed the conversation. I enjoyed the energy also I saw in you. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. And as usual, if you have any questions, any feedback, I will share all the details that Joe mentioned about his podcast and his website. And you can reach out to me for, as I said, any question or feedback through email, or you can connect with me over LinkedIn or Twitter as usual. Thank you very much. And until we meet again in another episode, stay safe. Bye bye.